Today's episode is going to be shot clocked to 20 minutes. We like to keep things concise, consolidated, and make sure people stay till the end. So the first section we're going to get through is TLDR, which obviously stands for too long, didn't read. We're going to ask you for a little 60-second elevator pitch on who you are, what you do, and why you're here today.
Awesome, yeah, sounds good. So I'm Alex Cuccovillo. I'm the co-founder and VP of Gaimin Gladiators. We're an esports brand that competes in, I think, we're up to like 11 titles now. And yeah, we've been doing this for the last 2 years under Gaimin Gladiators. We were called Oceanus Gaming prior to that for about 3 years. And that's basically who we are. We compete in some of the top titles. We just picked up a CS2 team, which is great. And obviously our lead flagship team right now is our Dota 2 team, who won, I believe, back-to-back majors last year, which is unfucking believable.
Huge. Awesome. Well, that was nice and concise. 35 seconds. That's one to beat for this season of the Power Up podcast. And obviously we'll be getting into the CSGO 2 team in due course. But secondly, under TLDR, we are asking you for 30 seconds on why people should support you or work with you or buy your product. Obviously, Gaimin Gladiators is one of the most renowned teams in esports at this point, but give your impassioned speech as to why people should be following you.
I think the reason why people should be following us is we try to do things a little bit differently than a lot of organizations. One thing is we're really young owners, so we connect with a lot of people and fans. On top of that, we're very family oriented in terms of the way we work with our teams. We're very hands-on. We're involved in everything from giveaways, branding, video design, content, and work with our content team on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what's different from what other organizations might do.
Absolutely. Sorry, I shot clocked you there again. Always a nice way to warm you up on a podcast, but I think you got the message across for sure. And obviously excited to delve a little bit deeper into obviously the way that you've attracted such a large community in such a small amount of time, as well as becoming a winning team, which always works its way into making sure that people take notice and follow what you're doing. So I appreciate you for coming on. A lot to talk through. Just before we do, I wondered if you had any life hacks or any words of wisdom you could share with the audience.
It might sound generic, but keep chasing your dreams. I was chasing this dream while working 2 different jobs, and it came true. So just believe in yourself, do what you can, and kind of chase those goals that you want to do. It might not happen right away. It might happen 3-4 years from now, but as long as you study yourself and make sure that you're in a good position to continue to chase those goals, I think that's the most important, and you're going to love every second of it regardless.
Fantastic. Well, we're certainly looking forward to hearing a little bit more of your story as we get into the deep dive. Okay, Alex, we are into the deep dive. This is where we get a little bit more of a retrospect and hopefully some insights into what is to come for Gaimin Gladiators. Firstly, you obviously compete in a number of titles. You've had incredible success across the board, probably most notably in Dota, as you mentioned earlier. Tell us, obviously the big news, a CSGO team is on the way. Where did that decision come from?
It's been a decision we've been looking to enter the scene for quite some time. We had a brief stint about 2 years ago when we first started Gaimin Gladiators in the North American scene. And every year we've been looking at different avenues or ways we can enter. But I think this was the best case scenario for us, picking up a team that's already ranked in the top 20, bunch of young talent, full Danish roster. I think it was just a perfect blend of timing and when we wanted to enter and make the leap, I guess you can say. So that kind of made us push into it. We're all big CS fans. I watch like every single major. I can't say that I'm good at the game, but definitely a fan of it and love playing it. So I think a lot of us are very big fans of the game, and we've always wanted to enter. It's just a very difficult game to enter, especially if you're going to build your own roster. It takes months for the team to get to cohesion and things of that nature. So I think we were just looking for a right entry to get into. And I think we found the perfect fit.
Amazing. Well, that's great to hear. And I guess one of the things I'd always love to know, I've never been on the team side. I've always been in sort of supporting services in the industry, is obviously you get an idea that you want to go into a game and there's an aspiration that comes into it. I guess when you're at that point of, hey, we should join CSGO, does it become an instant plan and you start putting together a blueprint and a project sort of dossier of everything you need to do? Or is it sort of that lightning bulb moment where everything comes together pretty quickly once you actually act on it? Is it the case that for 2 years, you've really had to work behind the scenes to build brick by brick? Or has it been more of an instant catalyst?
Yeah, I think it depends on the title. For example, CS, we've always kind of had connections with people within the scene and try to figure out what would be our best bet to enter. In terms of this team, though, it was a bit different. We were actually looking into possibly picking up another team or potentially building our own roster. That didn't come to fruition fully, sadly, for those guys, as we thought that they were, had a lot of potential. They had great past experience. This kind of opportunity came onto our lap and we couldn't really say no to it. I think it was just a perfect time to enter for us. But with that being said, we're pretty in depth with our research when we do enter games. We don't just enter games to enter. We try to look at the data behind it, look at how the team's performances are, their past history, how long they've been together, how many changes they might have made in the past. Things of that kind of allow us to understand where the players' mentalities are, what their characteristics are, what type of performance, or if they've been on an upward trajectory or a downward trajectory. We did this similar with our Dota 2 team over the last 2 years. And obviously in their second year, they became, one of the powerhouses in the scene and still are one of the powerhouses. So I think that's something that we look to do and try to do with all of our teams. Another thing, we try to see if our chemistry with the players works, because I think our dynamic is a little different at what we do at Gaimin Gladiators. We're very hands-on owners, and that doesn't mean we want to be involved with their strats or anything, but we want to be very supportive and be there at every event, cheering for them and being right beside them through everything. And I think making sure that our chemistry and them understanding that and liking our personalities means a lot. And hopefully that's another indication of if we pick up a team as well. So
now that's really cool. So it's almost a Moneyball strategy in esports to an extent. Very data heavy, very metric driven. That's exciting. And I guess you could going into the data a little bit. CS obviously has a huge fan base, community, massive engagement, big prize pools. Are they the sort of KPIs you're looking at when you're assessing, hey, this is a game that we want to build a team in? Are they the key qualifiers that you say, great, these are the points that we need in order to start building a roster and making this sustainable?
Yeah, I think marketability is definitely one of the key things. It's not the main thing we look at, just in terms of, for example, the CS2 team we just signed. They're not the biggest in terms of marketability, player for player, in terms of their social media following, but we understand that there is room to grow, and we were never the biggest. And it's just given an opportunity, I guess, in a sense, even though they already are a very strong team, but giving them that opportunity to get the support that they need is hugely important. But back to the marketing, I think one of the biggest things for us is obviously there's a lot less restrictions in CS in terms of sponsorship as well, which we've found with a lot of other titles we're in, like Rocket League, Fortnite. There's a lot more restrictions, and us having a sponsors that are already on board because of our Dota 2 team, it easily aligns with entering into CS2 and using those sponsors as a way to enter into the scene as well, and having their support to enter that scene, as they can't really sponsor some of the other titles we're in. So it's kind of going back to your other point, I guess, a little bit in terms of picking up a team. That's one of the things we look at as well. How valuable maybe our sponsors think that picking up this team is, or maybe they have some indication on some information about how good the players are within the scene, which can help us make a decision. So those are the key aspects, I think.
Definitely. Well, that was super insightful. I think it's always cool to see the process, given I think the investment, obviously not just monetarily, but on yourselves with splitting your bandwidth and your resource to really bring another team in. And as you said, like this isn't something where you want to just sort of have them at arm's length. You're trying to nurture a team. You're trying to make sure they're successful. You're trying to make sure you're a good fit for them, which I think is often overlooked in these. And obviously one thing that makes you slightly unique at Gaimin Gladiators is that you're not alone when it comes to that decision-making process, right? You're lucky to get to work with your brother on a daily basis.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, my brother is one of the other co-owners as well.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I get to work with my brothers every day. Some very good days, some more challenging days. I'm sure it's the same for yourself. Can you give us any behind the scenes, anything that goes on that the audience can listen to?
Yeah, I mean, just some context. I work with my brother and actually one of my best friends, whose name is Sean, and my brother's name is Nick. They run a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with us. And there's some days that it's a bit difficult and you got to put aside, being friends or brothers or whatever it may be to get the business side done. But I think us having that relationships allows us to like understand that things need to get done and we can talk openly about things like that, which definitely helps. And, it's always great working with your best friends every day and making jokes while you're working and, shooting the shit, I think is super important while your job, even if it's, going over legal terminology and contracts, you can still kind of shoot the shit and have a nice conversation with them. So yeah, there's ups and downs for sure, but I don't think we've ever gone into a very bad situation ever. Maybe there's been like a bit of discourse in terms of like decision making on what avenue maybe we can enter or what we can do. But other than that, I think working with people you trust and are your friends and have been your friends your whole life, I think is very important. At least that's why I love doing my job is part of the reason. And that's what we try to put into our teams as well, is create that friendship with them. Because it's always better to work with someone that you're friendly with than, a boss that you fucking hate. So
it does. It makes such a difference. And I think going back to sort of the word I used earlier, community, it sort of fosters some of the values that you've had throughout your life, which I've seen as well. I've been very fortunate during my time working with my brothers that I think I've been working with one of my brothers since 2017, the other one since 2018. And you are almost able to give an extra 10% because you're rooting for them in the same way that you're rooting for the company or for results. And it's the same as you start building those friendships and those relationships. You're not just doing it for like success or for the continuation of the business. You're doing it for each other because every milestone, every leap, every pattern sort of drives people forward in their development. And that's been a huge thing for me. And I think I've been very lucky to work in a lot of family-owned or orientated businesses. And it's just the way you want to be treated. It's the way you want to treat people that I think also contributes to an atmosphere and an environment where people can truly take things on, take responsibility and sort of grow. And it's no doubt why you've been able to grow so quickly in this industry. Obviously, you have a very good tenure, very good legacy in the industry already. But obviously, Gaimin Gladiators has been a whirlwind, right? It's almost been sort of post-pandemic. Here we are. Oh, and by the way, you have to take us seriously because we're winning Dota majors and we're winning all these tournaments and we're upsetting the people that you fought with the big sort of rivals that we were going to have. At that point. And obviously that comes because you're able to rely on each other and sort of use that brotherhood almost to grow.
For sure. And I will give a quick shout out too to like our investors and board members. They, I've heard a lot of horror stories and I can tell you like our relationship with our board and investors is like, it's very family oriented as well. They trust us with every single decision we make, and they're not afraid to take a risk with us if they believe that we think we know what we're doing is the right course. And I think that is very, very important. And having that trust factor and backing behind us as well allows us to kind of our job and know that someone trusts us and is able to support us in those decisions. And so far it's worked out it's worked out well. But hopefully we can continue to have that success going upwards as we are still new and we want to continue growing. So yeah, I think that's a huge thing and within any company. And it's sad to see when you see some of these other companies that don't do it, especially like notable names that you had a lot of respect for in the past. But I think that's something that we never want to change within our company. And, we want to always be boots on the ground and support our teams and also support our staff. I mean, our staff has been absolutely incredible, and we talk with them on a day-to-day basis, and we have that same camaraderie with them as we do with anyone else within our company. So I think that's something that we always want to hold close to our heart at Gaimin Gladiators, and hopefully it doesn't get too much of business like.
Absolutely. And it's always great if you can just offer your staff a 1v1 to settle debates, right? That's always a nice caveat of working in gaming. And obviously going into... Exactly. I wish I could say the same. Sadly, my younger brother roasts me in every game we play, so I can't really offer that as a way to debate things. But talking around success and some of the things you've done today, I guess, what would be your greatest achievement with Gaimin Gladiators to this point?
Oh, wow. I think it's hard to put like a one word, like to pick one certain thing, but I can list like a few things. I think obviously winning a major, attending our first major, which was in Sweden, Stockholm, was like a huge accomplishment. Like to be able to do that in our first 4 months running as Gaimin Gladiators was like a huge accomplishment for us. Then obviously winning our first major last year was unbelievable. But I think the biggest and greatest achievement that we've achieved and that we're super happy about is, being self-sufficient, like being an organization that is able to self-sustain itself through, return on investment and through the things that we are doing with sponsors and things we're doing with our content team. I think that's like our biggest accomplishment, to be honest, because a lot of other organizations can't say that. And that's something that we try to remind ourselves, especially being such young owners in the industry, that we're able to accomplish those things. And I think that is the biggest accomplishment any of us could ever ask for. I mean, if the company is able to run on its own, it's only beneficial for everybody, and it means we're doing something right. So hopefully we can continue that. And yeah,
especially if you're still able to grow. I think that's the key thing, is if you're able to enter new titles, you're able to be more involved in different communities within esports. That's a huge testament to how you're conducting things, how you're sequencing things, the partners that you're bringing on board. So that's super encouraging and I think really exciting. And I guess going a little bit more into the way things work, I guess for you personally, when did gaming first enter your life? Like, what was the moment that you said, hey, this is something I'm enjoying, but actually this is something I'm going to dedicate my life to?
Yeah, probably when I was pretty young. I mean, I was always a big football player as well, soccer in North American terms, of football and UK terms, or European. So I always played competitive football. I even went to university for 5 years. I was the captain of my university team here in North America.
Nice. What position do you play?
I played either right back or CDM, center defensive mid. And I had a brief stint when I was around 18 in Uruguay as well, which is like my home country from where my parents are from. I played there for about a year when I was 18 as well. So through that, going back to how I got involved in gaming, my parents were pretty strict with me. Having South American parents, not going out and partying and doing things that 17, 18-year-olds do. And because of that, I did video gaming. And that's a huge shout out to my brother, who was a huge gamer. He had like the top end PC. We have a 7-year difference, me and him, in terms of age. So when he was around like 21 and I was like 13, he had this high end computer that not a lot of people had, and he was playing Red Alert, StarCraft, Counter-Strike Source, all these different types of games. I used to sneak on his computer when he'd go out and party, and I'd play Frozen Throne and play custom games and all this stuff. And I think at a certain point when Xbox and game battles started to become very popular, I started getting like heavy into that and competing like 12, 13, I think was my first competitions that I used to play online on like Rainbow Six, Halo, and a lot of these games. So I think that's when I started realizing like, oh, you can actually, do something with this. Although back then it was a lot different than it is now. But I always knew that like I loved professional gaming and I had a very competitive nature due to like my sports background, that I think as soon as I put 2 and 2 together, I was like, oh shit, like, you can actually take this pretty far.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I didn't know that story. And it's actually one that's very similar to how I got into the industry as well. So I'd always been a gamer. I'd always sort of enjoyed it. I had two brothers, one older, one younger. So we were always finding some way to challenge each other, whether it was GoldenEye or Smash or whatever it was going to be. And then I sort of came out of gaming for a little bit. I did a lot of RuneScape up until, I want to say, like 2008, 2009. I went to university. I was playing a lot of football. I was on the third team at my university and playing a lot of sort of seven-a-side alongside it. And then I had a grade 1 sprain on my ankle. I had a big knee injury. And suddenly I couldn't hit that competitive edge anymore. So I was like, I need something to fill this gap in my life whilst I recoup for 6 months. And then my younger brother, Alex, who's our head of marketing, was like, you have to try this game, League of Legends. And I was like, listen, that game's never going to take off. Like, trust me, I'm not wrong on this. I've looked at the stats, like, and I was wrong. I'm happy to admit. And he made me play Cogmore mid, which, by the way, should be a crime. Like that was one of the hardest entry points to a game I've ever had. Cogmore mid was his way of saying, hey, this is super fun. And it wasn't. So I logged out and I rage quit. But then, like, 2 a.m. in the morning, I found myself logging back on and being like, this game is something. And back then I didn't know about like any of the websites you could get, like anything that could help you to create builds or know when to level things up or what champions. So I went through to his room and woke him up and I was like, I'm going to buy a champion. Mm-hmm. Like, what do I level when? And he had to write down like QWER on the piece of paper and let me know when I'm leveling them, what I need to do, like where I need to be, what time things spawn in. So I would sit with a piece of paper on one side of my monitor and the monitor on the other, and try and work out how to be good at the game. And then, I did that for a while. We were obsessed. And then we started a team off the back of it before diversifying towards awards. But it's a very similar story of sort of football and sporting background, and then sort of being able to extend that via gaming as well, which is a really cool place to be. And then we'll certainly have to catch up a little bit more on that and some of the hardships and challenges that come with playing your brothers in games and then being in business at the same time. But we are very quickly approaching time on the podcast. I did have one last thing to end on. ESL 1 Birmingham is just around the corner. I mean, how's the team preparing for it leading up to the event?
So they just got off a tournament, Elite League, an online event. It just finished yesterday, it was Sunday. They finished 5th place there. Obviously, there's some room to improve, but ESL Birmingham is going to be a big one. A lot of points on the line for EWC and future dream leagues and stuff like that as well. So I believe they took this tournament as a form of understanding the meta, understanding the style they want to play. But in terms of preparation, those guys are doing what they have to do. I think they're going to be flying out in the next 5 days, I believe, or even 4 days. So they haven't had any boot camp or anything due to them playing in this tournament before. But I think with the 1 week period and them going out a little earlier, it gives them time to understand the meta and make decisions based on the style that they want to play. And hopefully, we can get a better result at ESL Birmingham. Playing in front of a crowd is always, I think, exciting for a lot lot of people.
Yeah, and the Brits bring it as well. More. So. Absolutely. Yeah. we tend to have a good atmosphere, good people, good food. Obviously, a Nando's or two over in Birmingham.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time since.
Are you heading over as well?
I used to. I might go for the weekend, like for the finals weekend. But it's been a very long time, like that. There's been an event at ESL Birmingham. I used to be one of the main ones for Dota back in the day when I was just a watcher, just a fan. So that's what I think is going to be the most hype. I think people are going to be super, super happy about that. And kind of, I think the fans are going to be absolutely hype. I mean, when you got UK guys, singing some fans maybe from some football matches, then, you're going to be in the zone. So hopefully having that live
and UK audiences are turning up. Like, yeah. We're filling arenas, which I think is really cool. We got the chance to go down and see Apex last year. That was pretty much full every single day. We also have the Halo Major coming in May. That's sold out twice. They've had to keep extending tickets. So I think it just paints a really good place of where fans are, and the fact that if you're building something that's engaging, that's fun, that's experiential, like people are going to show up. You're going to sell your gates, which means everyone wins in the long term, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I can't wait.
Perfect. Well, Alex, that's all we have time for today. But thank you so much for coming on and being guest number one as we tried out this format. Hopefully you've had fun and got to enjoy it. We certainly enjoyed hearing your story. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Can check me out on Twitter, I guess. It's GG Fataluno. Other than that, follow Gaimin Gladiators on whatever social media you prefer. I know there's a billion of them now, so we use all of them. So don't be afraid to check us out on whatever you'd like. But yeah, other than that, you can hit me up at GG Fataluno. I'm pretty open to following everyone back and replying to messages if you do have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll be rooting for you and seeing what happens. See you next time.
See you. Have a good one.